Good morning. My name is Raymund Paredes, Commissioner of Higher Education. On behalf of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, I'm pleased to officially release the first edition of the Texas Public Higher Education Almanac. This publication represents an important step in making higher education more transparent and more accountable to policymakers, students and parents, and most importantly, the citizens of Texas. In the year 2000, the state launched the Closing the Gaps by 2015 initiative, a higher education master plan with explicit benchmarks to position Texas among national leaders in higher education. However, in order to accurately assess progress made and identify areas for improvement, we require robust institutional and state data. To this end, Governor Perry directed the Coordinating Board in 2004 to develop an accountability system for our public universities that would allow policymakers and the public to measure more explicitly institutional performance. A year later, we launched the initiative on our website, and it has evolved every year since. We have added information about our community and technical colleges. We have expanded the measures collected and disseminated through the system. And we are currently working on improving the website to facilitate use for a variety of stakeholders. The result is that the accountability system has been recognized as a national best practice and become the envy of peer states like California. Today, the Almanac takes the most relevant and useful data in our accountability system and places it in a format that is accessible and meaningful to the general public. The Almanac not only shows how Texas compares to national peers on key data, but also allows readers to compare institutions on a variety of institutional characteristics and performance measures. In developing this publication, we deliberately included a variety of measures that captured the true diversity and mission of our public institutions, both universities and two-year institutions. Today, as the Almanac shows, we have made great progress since the year 2000. Enrollments have increased 47%. This includes dramatic increases in first-generation college students, Hispanics, and African Americans. The number of degrees and certificates awarded each year has increased by 52%, and we have improved our share of federal research expenditures. We believe the annual Almanac will clearly demonstrate progress made and make clear the challenges remain to make Texas a national and global leader in higher education. I would now like to introduce the chairman of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, Fred Heldenfels.
Good morning. As the Commissioner said, I'm Fred Heldenfels, chairman of the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. And on behalf of our entire board, I'm pleased to release this publication, the Almanac, a collective report card, if you will, making critical data and information about higher education in Texas more transparent and more accessible. To further advance our governor's vision for making more data about higher education available, the Coordinating Board decided that an online system of accountability was not good enough. We needed to be more proactive in disseminating information about higher education. The Almanac represents the next phase in promoting transparency, accountability, and the value of Texas higher education to Texas taxpayers and Texas tuition payers. This effort is unique in that it results from a collaboration with philanthropic organizations such as the Communities Foundation of Texas, the Houston Endowment, and the Texas High School Project, a true public-private partnership to benefit Texas taxpayers. As the Commissioner said, the Almanac shows Texas has much to celebrate. However, it also shows how much we must accelerate. Specifically, we must produce more college graduates at every level. We hope the data provided in the Almanac creates a sense of urgency to make improvements in higher education. In this regard, we're thankful to the strong commitment of Governor Perry, who's been a consistent champion of higher education. Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst and Speaker Joe Strauss have also been instrumental in marshaling the resources necessary to achieve gains. And of course, the dedicated leadership of Senator Judith Zaffirini and Representative Dan Branch cannot be overstated. In fact, Chairman Branch's tireless commitment to improving higher education in Texas is evident in the many critical reforms enacted in recent years and promoted during this session. by both of our higher ed chairmen. Our goal with this almanac is that each of these leaders and other members of the legislature will use this data to develop good public policy. We also hope our public institutions, our chancellors and presidents, our regents and trustees, will use this data to make continuous improvement on our campuses designed to accelerate progress to achieve closing the gaps and set Texas on a trajectory for national leadership and global competitiveness. Now it's my honor and privilege to introduce the governor of the great state of Texas, the Honorable Rick Perry. Thank you, Fred.
Fred, thank you very much. And Raymund, to you and the board. When it comes to higher education in Texas, there may be some differing opinions on how you approach the process, but the goal itself should always remain clear. Put simply, anyone who has the motivation, is willing to do the hard work, should be able to earn a college degree in the great state of Texas. That's an essential part of the future of our state. Our future, I happen to believe, will be defined by the level of our commitment to preparing our young people for the challenges of this high-tech world that surrounds us. I've asked the question, others have asked the question, can Austin, Texas be the next Silicon Valley? I believe it can. I believe we're already headed down that path. We kept our taxes low, our regulatory climate fair and predictable. We got a legal system that doesn't allow for oversuing. We're prioritizing accountable schools. We're bringing world-class researchers to Texas through strategic investments like the Emerging Technology Fund, the Cancer Prevention and Research Institute of Texas. Texans across our state have already involving themselves in groundbreaking research that affect our very lives and those of our loved ones. The advances that we made in this direction didn't happen by accident. They were a result of years of hard work by many Texas leaders who've been developing that vision and focusing on the goal. Continuing our efforts in that direction, however, will require the teamwork and dedication of professors, of researchers, of administrators, of legislators, along with the private sector, all working together to prepare Texas for the future. Maintaining our dedication to transparency and accountability is critical to the success of that effort. And I commend the Higher Education Coordinating Board for their latest step in making it easier for Texans to access this information by the publication of this almanac. Texans will find it easier to assess the value of getting their education, and also for basically they now have a better way to see what the return on their investment is with higher education dollars. In Texas, we have an ongoing and expanding commitment to transparency in all of our state agencies. Transparency isn't just about making information available, it's about keeping it accessible, making it easier to understand. It informs taxpayers. It helps consumers, in this case students and their families, who need to make the right choices about where they will go to college. Transparency also increases accountability, allowing taxpayers to see how their money is being spent, whether there are clear milestones that they've set and that they're being met. That is very key to improving our system, because we can't know where we're going if we don't have accurate and accessible data about where we are now. This almanac captures a snapshot of where we are in higher education, and I think the spirit behind it has us heading in the right direction. These improvements are moving us in the right direction, but we still face challenges, as Raimundo said, in our higher education system, challenges we must overcome to maintain our status as a national economic leader. And I've said before, change doesn't come easy. Our state university systems have a lot to be proud of. Last session, I had the pleasure of signing House Bill 51. That, thanks in no small part by your hard work, Dan, and Senator Zaffarini. That bill provided a roadmap for creating more Tier 1 schools in our state. That's an important part of strengthening Texas economic, or I should say our diverse economy, and positioning our state as a clear leader in future technological revolution. However, as we move forward, we need to remember that the key to any university's success is its students. We have to ensure that the students have the opportunity to not only pursue higher education, but ultimately earn a degree. I think you mentioned, but the number of young people in Texas over the last decade who have earned a degree is up 52%. I propose some measures to help make our institutions of higher education more affordable, accountable, accessible to students in Texas. I've called for a four-year freeze on tuition, lock in those tuition rates at or below the level paid in a student's freshman year. I've challenged our institutions of higher learning to leverage new technology to create a bachelor's degree program that costs no more than $10,000, books included. We also need to take a long look at instituting outcome-based funding, in which a significant percentage of undergraduate funding is awarded based upon a school's success in graduating students, not just enrolling them. Many in the legislature have been working hard, as I mentioned, Dan and Judith. I want to thank them and the rest of your colleagues for what they're doing on behalf of not only our current but our future students in the state of Texas. It's a really important issue. It's a vital issue because every student who can't afford to go to college or gives up early due to cost, that's a lost opportunity in this state. It's not just for that individual, but it's also for the state, a loss. So, Dan, I want to ask you to say a few words, and then we'll open it up to any questions those of you in the working media have.
Thank you, Governor, and Chairman and Commissioner, and your team of the coordinating board. Thank you for this work. I know I have often asked for, I know some of your deputy commissioners, David Gardner and others, have asked for data, and so I think it's real important not only that we have current and complete data, Governor, but also data that's offered in a timely fashion. So I'm hoping that this Almanac will be a really good tool so that we can do policy better. I happen to think that when spring rolls around, a lot of our fellow citizens think about graduations, even though we have people graduating now year-round in the summer and Christmas. And so we ought to have, even if we have to make some estimates, good data available on graduations, particularly in the coming months. In the fall, I think a lot of our citizens think about enrollments, and we've done better, as the governor mentioned, not only in completions, but also in our enrollments have been up dramatically. And in many ways, we're well on the way to our Closing the Gaps 2015 effort that was started back at the beginning of the last decade. So while we have many challenges in higher ed, we have some successes. We're doing well. We needed to do well quicker, and we got to keep up with this tremendous growth that's coming into our state, and that's the challenge of higher ed. But having good data in a timely fashion, in a way that people can actually compare and contrast other schools, and then ultimately compare us, we have to measure ourselves up, as the governor often talks about, with other states. And so this gives us a format. I think we have a group from California in today to look at how we do, and I've always encouraged at different conferences getting together with other, particularly large states, and compare our data with them. And so this is an important tool. I often think of things in historical terms, Governor, as I know you do, and think about our 175th anniversary, and one of your predecessors when it was a republic, the second president, Lamar, known as the father of Texas education, said that a cultivated mind is the guardian genius of democracy. And to me, that reminds us, and he and Houston didn't agree on a lot of things later in life, but they did agree on education. And we've always been challenged to what the right level of investment is, particularly in tough times. But what we do get here in Texas is not only is education important in terms of a skilled workforce and ensuring our future and our future economy, but it also is important in a longer-term view of productivity, which sometimes almanacs have to really work to capture, is a full citizenship, engaged citizens, understanding the process, understanding democracy to ensure our culture. So I compliment the board on its work, and I hope this will be a useful tool, and I'm grateful to the foundations and the private sector, public-private partnership of pulling this thing together. So thank you all.